Welcome back to Steeler Thoughts and Chief Feelings. I'm Ajay Nair, the psychiatrist and Chiefs fan. Chris is out this week, and this week we will do a recap of the first Chiefs preseason game. Nice to have some actual football to talk about, even if we just got the starters for a short period of time. But we can go through a little bit of what happened in the game, what we think about it, what it means for the Chiefs going forward. And to start, we can talk about the first play from scrimmage. So the Chiefs received the opening kickoff and the offense came on the field. A somewhat anticlimactic touchback, so we didn't get to see what the Chiefs had cooking for a return in the new kickoff format. But the Chiefs started with the ball at the 30-yard line. And here is play number 1 from scrimmage. We can talk about it. Let's let it run once. So here we've got 11 personnel. So 11 personnel, for those who don't recall, is when you're giving a 2-digit number for NFL personnel, the first digit represents the number of running backs on the field, and the second digit represents the number of tight ends on the field. So when you're saying 11 personnel, what you're really saying is there's 1 running back and 1 tight end. And if you remember, there are 5 eligible receivers on any play because you have 11 total players. There are 5 offensive linemen, so we can actually just count them out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you always have the quarterback. So that's 6 people that can't be eligible receivers out of the 11. So there are 5 eligible receivers total. So if you have 11 personnel, that means 1 running back, 1 tight end. Then you have 5 minus the 2, which is 3. That's how many wide receivers you are. So 11 personnel means 3 wide receivers also. And our receivers are up top right here. We've got Hollywood Brown. Here in the slot, we've got Xavier Worthy. And down on the boundary on the other side, we've got Rashee Rice. Our 1 running back is Isaiah Pacheco right here, and our tight end is Kelsey, who's set on the right side of the formation. All right, so the Chiefs starting 11 personnel. That's already noteworthy because if you remember, with the Chiefs wide receiver troubles, they tended to go into 12 and 13 personnel. Again, 12 means 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and 13 is 1 running back, 3 tight ends, which limits the number of wide receivers you have on the field. Now, most teams in today's day and age run 11 personnel most of the time, and the Chiefs aren't an exception to that. But since Tyreek Hill has left, the Chiefs have been pushing more and more into 12 and 13 personnel than other teams do. So they do a lot more of having 2 or 3 tight ends on the field. It's kind of noteworthy that their opening look here after kind of revamping the wide receiver room is to go back to a 3 wide receiver set. Okay, so what's going to happen on this play? Let's start down here. We're going to get Rashee Rice, and he's going to come and just run like a little hitch route here. Xavier Worthy, as you would kind of expect for a speedster that's also a rookie, so he's probably not going to have a very diverse route tree, although we'll discuss that in a little bit in the future. Xavier Worthy is going to run a clear out, so he kind of runs like a here, a stop, and then go to kind of bring the, make sure that the defense has to respect the deep ball. And then Hollywood is going to run like a kind of in and over, get inside leverage, and then come over across the formation. Kelsey kind of waits in to block, and then he eventually releases. And Pacheco is going to run a swing out on the other side. So we can let that play once. So here, Mahomes hits Hollywood Brown. And if you notice, the other thing that we can talk through on this play to start is that the Jaguars actually come in with a fairly aggressive blitz here. So if we watch how they kind of rotate pre-snap, they're looking like man-to-man, right? He's manned up on him. Hollywood's manned up 1-1. This linebacker seems to be keeping eyes on Kelsey. We've got a single high safety over here. This safety seems keyed on Worthy, so we're kind of man up across the board. Then we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4 rushers. Looks like we've got a blitzer here, and we've got this guy who is eyeing Pacheco. So what it really looks like, it's a 5-man rush, and you've got your single high safety in the back here. But what happens, if you notice, is this guy who's keying on Kelsey sees Kelsey stay in the block, and he ends up coming and bringing pressure as well. The other thing that's kind of negative about this play for the Chiefs is they are clearly like shifting their line over to the left. If you watch over here, you can see as the play starts, the line shifts over to the left. And the Jaguars' blitz is from the Chiefs' right. So the line shifts to the left, which means that after Kelsey kind of puts hands on the defensive end right here, the tackles, Jawan Taylor's over there. So you end up having the end who was, free by design. Kelsey is going to block him and then release. So this end is free by design, but you also have another blitzer off the edge, and you have the guy who Kelsey was going to guard Kelsey, who sees Kelsey stay in, and he's going to come too. So Mahomes is kind of dealing with a lot over here. They get lucky that 21, who is, initially lined up as if he's going to play worthy one-on-one, but the safety actually comes down to take him. 21 gets a little distracted by this motion. If you notice, instead of taking a straight shot into Mahomes, he ends up kind of coming in across before realizing that he can go after the quarterback. In any case, it ends up being a blitz, and Mahomes has a lot to contend with, but if we look up top, Hollywood Brown gets his inside release. He's open, and because the Jaguars have blitzed, nobody in the middle of the field. They only have the single high safety, and everyone else is manned up. Worthy does a good job of kind of getting out. He actually, unfortunately, gets kind of hung up by the physicality right here on this part of the route, which messes up his timing, but it doesn't look like he was a primary read anyway. Rice runs his little stop route, and Brown gets open. Mahomes does a good job of hanging in there and getting the throw. Now, the other piece of this play, the kind of important thing, is Hollywood Brown actually got injured on that play, which is a big deal if you have been paying attention to what we've been saying on the podcast, and what a lot of people through Chiefs media have been saying, is that Hollywood Brown had the potential to be someone who really was prolific in this offense. We talked on our podcast about the fact that he probably is not just going to be, in fact, almost certainly is not just going to be a deep threat. As you see on this play right here, he runs really good intermediate and even shallow routes, and he can be trusted on a play like this where you get a man blitz to get open and get open quickly enough that Mahomes can get a big gain. So Hollywood Brown was kind of going to be the receiver that could take multiple roles here in this offense, that could kind of do it at all three levels, run a complete route tree. So him being injured is difficult. The injury that he had was a sternoclavicular dislocation. So the clavicle bone, which is what we kind of in layman's term call the collarbone, that connects to over on your shoulder at the acromioclavicular joint. You might have heard of AC joint sprains or AC joint separation. That's like over by your shoulder. But the other end of that clavicle attaches to that bone running down the middle of your rib cage called the sternum. So that sternoclavicular joint dislocation is kind of rare. Actually, the only other time I remember it in football is when it happened to Tyreek Hill in this same stadium in 2019, early in the Chiefs-Jaguars Week 1 game. The reason why that injury is somewhat notable, especially if it's a posterior dislocation, is if your clavicle goes backwards into your chest, there are a lot of blood vessels that are pretty important for your body right in there. And so you always want to get checked out if it goes backwards to make sure that nothing tore or was damaged, because that could be really dangerous. You also don't want to puncture your lung. Looks like Hollywood Brown checked out okay. Tyreek Hill, when he had this injury, I believe missed 4 weeks. But Tyreek Hill was kind of known to come back from things very quickly. So here we are sitting in August. 4 weeks means that you're going to miss week 1 of the season, and I wouldn't be shocked if it takes him longer. I wouldn't put everyone on Tyreek Hill's timeline when it comes to recovering. But in any case, nice play, both by Mahomes and Hollywood. Really unfortunate that Hollywood's injured. It'll be interesting to see what the Chiefs try to do to make up for him, because, like we said, he was kind of the one guy that could run a complete tree. I think in our best case scenario, Xavier Worthy might one day become someone that can run a complete route tree, but he's a rookie, so I don't know that we'll expect him to come in and take a huge role, especially not early in the season. Maybe it can be like Rashee Rice, where he gets an expanded role toward the end of the year, but it'll be interesting. They'll kind of have to put things together to try to replace Hollywood Brown for the time that he's out. So now we're at the next play after the first down we just saw to Hollywood Brown. And I wanted to show this play for a couple reasons. First of all, what's really noteworthy is who comes in for Hollywood Brown. So now the Chiefs are in 11 personnel again. So as we mentioned, that means one running back, one tight end, and then the other 3 people out of the 5 eligible receivers are wide receivers. So running back here is Pacheco. Here is Kelsey. Those make up the 11. Right here we've got Worthy in the slot, Rashee Rice, and Sky Moore is the wide receiver that comes in to replace Hollywood Brown. So that can mean one of two things. It could just mean that Sky Moore is the other receiver that kind of knows the route combination required to play the way that Hollywood Brown plays in our offense. And so that may say something about Sky Moore's future with the team. It may not. Maybe it's useful to be the second guy on the team that knows this route combination and that could fit in a pinch. But we also remember that Justin Watson didn't play in this game. So could this have been Justin Watson? Possibly, although, he has run like drags. He's been a part of mesh. He runs a lot of corner patterns and go routes. I don't know that he has like a huge intermediate route tree, but maybe Justin Watson could be that person. On the other hand, if it weren't about route combination, then you'd think like, wow, Sky Moore is next man up in the wide receiver room. Like maybe that does say something good about him. I'm a little more inclined to lean toward, Rashee Rice has a specific role in the offense. We've seen that. He's much more of like a short yardage guy. Xavier Worthy probably doesn't know the whole offense, and if anything, he's a clear out guy. So it might just be that Sky Moore is the next person that's kind of equipped, the next healthy person at least, that's equipped to run a similar route tree to Hollywood Brown. So maybe it doesn't mean that much for Sky Moore's future on the team. We shall see. In any case, let's get into this play. So what's going to happen on this play? We can run it one time. So we got Worthy coming over in motion to kind of identify what's going on. You see the safety come down. So it looks like here we've got man-to-man. Looks like we got man over here. So we've got single high with man coverage. The same idea as last time, except that it doesn't look like we have a blitzer. So last play we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and we had one more guy come off of the slot. Here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 blitzing. One of these guys, it kind of looks like him, is manned up against Pacheco, and this guy will be your robber in the middle of the field. So we've got deep zone, intermediate zone, everybody else is manned, and we got 4 rushers. Okay, so then what are the Chiefs doing? So Worthy came up, and he just ran a little like sit route here. So let's come over. Worthy basically came in this area and stopped. Sky Moore looks like he cleared out entirely. Rashee Rice ran a similar route to Worthy, kind of. So we've got he's in. Kelsey kind of came up and did a great job of like creating a rub with the defender, who, as we identified earlier, this fellow over here looks like here, let's run it here. So the safety comes down to get Kelsey, and this guy will be the one that's responsible for Pacheco, who's going to come out on the swing route. So watch Kelsey. Kelsey comes up here. Here's his guy, and this guy seems to be helping out a little bit, but ultimately his responsibility is way over here. But Kelsey runs interference here, so that, look, there's nobody on Pacheco because this guy's supposed to be here. He's the guy who's supposed to be on Pacheco, and Kelsey's man is over there. So Kelsey's little like stutter here is what breaks this play open. Right here, he occupies these two defenders. Linebacker doesn't have a chance to get over here. Safety is the guy who's guarding Kelsey. Pacheco pops wide open. Has a little trouble catching the ball, but he manages to hang on to it and has a decent game there. And here it is. And from this side of the view, what we really want to look at, we kind of know who. So notably, Joe Tooney's not playing. So this is Mike Caliendo in here, number 66. But these guys are all going to play, right? Humphrey, Smith, Juwan Taylor. We're a little interested in him just to see, how his year progresses because he started pretty rough after Collinsworth singled him out last year, week 1. But here's Kingsley, who seems by all reports to be the guy coming in at left tackle. It doesn't even seem like Wanya Morris is getting much of a run, has gotten much of a run to this point. He's currently, he didn't play in this game, but it seems like this is Kingsley's job to lose. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how he does. This will be a nice view. He's a tough assignment here with Josh Allen, who does kind of get around the edge quickly. Kingsley redirects him a little bit. But it's a quick throw in any case, so he didn't have much of a job to do. But that little move there, Josh Allen does kind of get his shoulder under, and if this had been a deeper drop or Mahomes was holding it a little longer, that could have been a tough rep for Kingsley. But quick throw, gets it out. No harm, no foul. All right, so we're going to move a few plays later. And now you see we've got the Chiefs here in 12 personnel, which, again, that means one running back. There's the one. 2 tight ends, they're both right here, so 1, 2 gives you 12. The running back here is Pacheco. He got all the first-team running back reps today. The 2 tight ends are what we would expect. Number 1, Kelsey, and number 2 is Noah Gray. Wide receivers here on the outside, we got Sky Moore again, and here we've got Rashee Rice in the slot. This play I wanted to go over because it just looked a little odd. We can let it run here. So we're playing out a shotgun here, and Pacheco gets stuffed. And the reason why I really wanted to point it out is it looks very strange from this angle. So what it really looks like to me, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong here, is so you've got especially let's let it run one time here. So Pacheco comes in, and if you see the line moving, especially I think the part that's up for debate is, did Juwan Taylor get beaten inside to see how his guy's inside here, or is he intentionally trying to move him inside? So let's watch Juwan Taylor on this play. I mean, to me, it does look like he's trying to move his guy inside. I guess reasonable people could disagree, but to me, it looks like, now the defender's clearly trying to come also, but it looks to me like Taylor kind of takes his motion, and then if you notice, Noah Gray kind of seals out here, and it looks like there's just this giant hole right there, and it kind of looks like, isn't that what they're trying to do? I'm no O-line expert here, but if you look back here, it really looks like Taylor gets a seal here, Gray gets a seal here, and they just create this lane right there, and Pacheco, like right there, it kind of feels like there's your move. I'm not sure. I mean, there may be something here I'm missing, but Pacheco runs it into the back of the line there, and they get no gain. But I'd be curious to hear from people that know more about offensive line play in the run game than I do. But looking at it one more time, it really does seem like they open a crease right in here. So for our next play, this is a third down in Jaguars territory, and the Chiefs trying to convert here. Now we're back in 11 personnel. You see the one running back, Pacheco, one tight end, Kelsey. It's 11. Our wide receivers are Rice on the innermost, Moore, and then Worthy to the outside. All right, so then let's get into what this play looks like. First, we're going to have a little motion from Rice over from right to left. He's going to line up out wide. And let's see the route combination here. So basically what we've got is we've got Kelsey and Rice. Let's move it over here so we get Rice all the way over. Kelsey and Rice are going to run kind of double ins. I think if you kind of run one deep and one in, it's a drive concept, if I remember correctly. So Kelsey's going to come up and in, and Rice is going to come up and in underneath. Worthy looks like he's running just a deep, like a 9 route, a clear out, and Sky Moore is running your deep over. Let's see the defense then on this play. So as you can see, it looks like we got man here, man, eyes on Pacheco, single high. So we've got single high with man across the board, and we got one robber here in the middle. So we got one deep zone, one intermediate zone, everybody else is just manned up, and we've got 4 rushers here. So let's kind of look at it from the left side first. So Kelsey runs his in cut, and he does an excellent job. Remember we saw earlier that Kelsey was able to kind of rub and take away Pacheco's man. Well, look at Kelsey running interference and getting that robber defender engaged. Because really what it's supposed to look like is this guy has got this kind of deep zone back here. This guy's got the intermediate. So he's trying to prevent, these slant routes from being thrown, anything kind of intermediate in cut. Especially we're looking at third and somewhat short. It's a third and like 4-ish. So you really don't want to be giving up something short. So what does Kelsey do? Kelsey comes in, kind of engages this guy. He's out of the picture. And Rice does a good job coming off on his slant. He wins quickly. Now he doesn't have to, normally you'd be worried about having the robber come and sit on this route and try to intercept it, but Kelsey has taken him away. So Rice pops wide open. Mahomes held it for a bit, which we'll come back to in a second. Because really you can throw now, right? It's 3rd and 4. Boom. Hit him right there. Right there. Get your first down. You can see the ref standing at the first down marker right there. Get your first down. You're done. Mahomes held it for a beat, scrambled out, and then decided to go back to it, and they aren't able to connect there. It's a little harder throw, a little harder catch. It's kind of low, but Rice dropped it. Why did Mahomes hold it? Well, let's come over to this side of the formation, to the right side. So remember we said Worthy is going to kind of run a clear out, and Sky Moore is going to run your deep over. Well, let's watch Sky Moore. So what does Sky Moore have to contend with? He's got to contend with this guy, and then your hope is that this guy's on Worthy. Your hope is that the safety is going to have to make a choice, right? You're going to have this deep guy going here, and you're going to have Worthy coming up. So if the safety kind of leaves one of these two, then you may get an option for a deep shot on this play. Right here, Worthy still hasn't won. So what I like to do is, kind of pause it where the quarterback's trying to make his decision. So when Mahomes gets to the back of his drop, so that's where he would have thrown, right? Right here. Like we said, boom, that's right there. But look over here. So Worthy is still making his move. And look at Sky Moore. Sky Moore, so Kelsey's going to engage this guy. Sky Moore is running an over. Now, as the quarterback, you're a little worried, or you should be worried that depending on what the safety is doing, and he looks like he's still going back, so you might be okay. You're worried about the safety driving on a throw here and causing a problem. Now, if this is a wide receiver that you have a great connection with, in theory, this is where, again, people that know more than me can correct me here. When you've got a deep safety, if you can trust this guy to bend his route off toward the sideline, I mean, there's a ton of open space, right? And you got to think that Mahomes is making a little bit of a calculation. Why doesn't he go to Rice right now? Because this is there. It's right there. My guess is he's, looking here, and this is what, someone like me would do in Madden when you see a guy come in here. If you, with the safety backpedaling, maybe even, as you'll see if you run it, Mahomes has no way of knowing this, but like if you keep running it, I mean, this throw is there, right? The safety is continuing to backpedal. But let's say the safety was ready and he's going to drive. If you can trust Moore to see that there's a single high safety in the middle of the field, and you can just level this off a little bit so you're running away from the safety more than running, this way, then you just get a throw over here, and that could be a big, big gain right there. So that's my guess as to why Mahomes hitched. He thought about it, and then was like, I don't know that this is going to work out. And he came back to Rice, and they weren't able to connect. Just as an added thing, just to follow Worthy throughout his route down here at the bottom. I mean, he does get by his guy. It doesn't look like he's like a primary route there. He's not like full burning by his guy. But in theory, if you run this kind of play and Worthy's going to get single high on the outside and the safety's going to stay in the middle, you're going to get some long gains down the sideline to Xavier White. So we can see it a little more from Mahomes' perspective. At least you can see him. He comes back, hits the back of his drop. You got throw now, but he doesn't. He comes off, and that ball should still be caught. It's not the easier throw and catch it would have been had Mahomes made the throw earlier. But as we watch it again, it's a little low, and Mahomes is moving, and Rice is on the run. But oh gosh, you got to make that catch. And now let's move to the kickoff play after the Chiefs kicked a field goal with their first team offense, and that was the end of the first team offense for the day. I feel like, it was a fairly decent representation. I think the big takeaway was Hollywood Brown got injured, and that's a big negative. So I guess if you wanted to overall grade how you feel about the first team offense after the first preseason game, it would be down just because we lost a huge contributor. Otherwise, I think it was, okay, they moved the ball. Had some nice plays. Guys were getting open. Their, kind of basic plays were working. So I think all in all, a fairly successful showing. Then, marred by the huge negative of Hollywood Brown getting hurt. And this is kind of what we've all been excited about, with Dave Tobe, our heralded special teams coordinator. Though, to be fair, I feel like our special teams hasn't quite been what we were used to over the past, apart from probably Harrison Butker's kicking. Not really what we were used to in the return game since maybe 2019 or so, I guess, we still had a Hardman kick return for touchdown in 2019, and Hardman had another punt return for touchdown in 2020. So maybe you could argue the last, 3 or 4 years haven't quite been the same, We, in the early time with Tobe and Reed here, it really felt like our return game was lethal. And then when Tyreek Hill came along, of course, it was a different level. But Hill stopped returning kicks and punts in 2019 when Hardman came along. And we took a little bit of a downtick, but like I said, we had a return in 19, a return in 20, and since then, it just hasn't been the same. Anyway, new kickoff rules. One would hope that a team with a really heralded coordinator will be a little ahead of the curve, and so we might have some fun results on kickoff and kick return compared to the rest of the league as everyone's figuring out these new rules. Unfortunately, our first kickoff of the preseason did not go so hot. Very interesting style. Butker just kind of popped it over, trying to land it between the 10 and the goal line, and then disaster ensued. It wasn't like they busted a huge hole open and it kind of weaved through, and they got some high steps in there, were able to cut it back for more yardage, and we didn't get them until the 20-yard line. So let's take a look at what happened here. One of the kind of exciting things about this kickoff that makes it look so weird aesthetically is that nobody except the kicker and the returners can move until the ball has hit the ground or the returner has caught it. So it's just so interesting seeing these guys standing stationary as the ball is moving. But then let's get into, so clearly Butker is directionally kicking it over here. So the big thing they always talk about with kickoff coverage and punt coverage is lane discipline. So when you're kicking over to the right, you know, as you see it drawn up on Madden, your guys on the right are kind of everybody stay in your lane, everybody stay in your lane. And then these guys kind of take a little more of an angled approach. But again, like everybody stay in your lane, everybody stay in your lane. So where does the problem start? It looks like our problem starts right here. Dion Bush, who's like a standard special teamer and usually by all accounts a great special teamer, gets completely washed out of the play. Completely gone from his lane. You know, he was the guy coming up here. He is going to get blocked and kind of moved completely out of this play. And if you look, where the return ends up cutting back is where Dion Bush had initially been. To kind of compound that error, the rest of the guys kind of filling in for Dion Bush, Cornell Powell and Leo Chenal, overrun this play. They kind of lose their lane discipline. So Bush is out of his lane. Instead of Powell, I mean, I guess one could argue Chenal is filling this lane that we lost from Bush, but the idea being that you want to kind of force the returner into your other guys who are, you know, the outside looks contained pretty well. Hicks is here. Joshua Williams is here. That looks like Cochran. I think that's a 43. So, you know, they kind of are ready here, but Powell and Chenal, instead of kind of hanging back and forcing into the contain, overrun the play and allow a huge cutback window. Look at Bush all the way over here. He really got washed out in this play, unfortunately. It's too bad because apparently he is a very good special teams player. But the kind of Bush and then Chenal and Powell combo lose contain completely. Even then, Connor kind of comes back. Bush is there still, and people aren't able to get a hand on him. And then it's off to the races, you know. These return men are guys that are very good in the open field. That's why they're kick returners. And once you've kind of allowed it to happen like that, then it's gone. So an unfortunate first kickoff return. Or kickoff. It was the first kickoff play that the Chiefs participated in because their kick to us was a touchback. Didn't go the way we wanted it to, unfortunately. Start with the first play of the defensive possession now. So defense starting in a tough spot. The offense is already in the red zone. And it looks like the Jaguars are now out here in 12 personnel. We talked about with their one running back and two wide receivers. So the Chiefs counter with their base defense. So the simplest explanation for base defense means that there are 4 defensive backs on the field. Basically, you have 7 either defensive linemen or linebackers. The Chiefs play a mainly 4-3 defense. So in their base, they have 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers. It's also noteworthy to see who the defensive backs are and how they're playing because we all feel pretty good about Trent McDuffie over here. He's going to be the number 1 defensive back. But the question is he going to mainly play on the outside, play in the slot? That's not really a question in your base defense. The base defense, both corners usually both corners are playing outside. You have 3 linebackers. The real question comes when you get 5 and 6 defensive backs in there. Does McDuffie play inside or outside? The Chiefs have made it seem like they want him to play outside. So we've got McDuffie out here. Cornerback 2 is Joshua Williams. Kind of predictable because Jalen Watson is hurt, but it'll be interesting to see if Jalen Watson or Joshua Williams kind of goes through the year as mainly your second guy, or Keith Taylor, who's on the team right now and has pedigree from the past, being a second-round pick in the past, whether he can challenge for any playing time. Safeties, you got Brian Cook over here. Chamari Connor is playing the other deep safety. And our linebackers, here's Drew Tranquil. This is Jack Cochran. And down here, outside of the defensive end, is Leo Chenal. And our lineman, Chris Jones, is not playing in this game. So our tackles here are Mike Pennell, who's the more traditional nose tackle, Turk Wharton, who's a little more of the three technique like Chris Jones. Mike Dana is right here, squeezed between Chenal and Turk Wharton. And then we've got George Karlaftis on the other end. All right, so looks like, Wharton is here as kind of next man up after Chris Jones. Pennell is in partially because Nadi is still coming off the triceps injury that he had last year. And it's no surprise to see Connor and Cook as our two safeties. Cochran being with Chenal, also not that much of a surprise. Obviously, this will be Nick Bolton's role when he comes back from his injury. All right, so let's see our first play. And I think that one of the main reasons I wanted to show this play, partially just because of the defensive line play overall, but partially because the guy that has stood out to me over and over again when watching snaps from this game on defense was Tershawn Wharton. He was a guy that in 2020 he was drafted, not drafted. He was an undrafted free agent from Missouri S&T, and he was surprisingly good for a guy from such a small football school and an undrafted free agent. And it seemed like he was kind of trending upward even further in 2021. And 2022, I recall his start of the year being really good. Maybe it was week 1, and then he was hurt most of the year. And it seemed like that kind of trajectory he had been on kind of was interrupted slightly. Last year, he played in a lot of games. He didn't play a ton. And so it was kind of nice to see him playing here and looking pretty good, actually. To start, I would draw attention to him because Turk Wharton is going to take a double team to start. So he's right here. And look at him hold up on this run play. So here you got the guard in the center, the original line of scrimmage right here at the 20-yard line. He's got 2 on him, and he's really able to kind of hold his own. He doesn't get moved back too far, doesn't create some big cutback lane. He's able to kind of handle himself. Chenal really works on setting the edge over here, does a great job. And then the other big piece here is, so really what draws my interest is Chenal coming in here and really setting a strong edge. Then Turk Wharton handling the double team and not allowing any major movement up here. Pennell is himself. He's always so hard to move. Dana also great against the run. And then Tranquil kind of sneaks back in and does exactly what he's supposed to do and cleans it up at the end. Just a really good running play. Also, I would be remiss not to mention that here, if you look at how far back Dana gets 74 here, when he helps Chenal set the edge here, Dana moves 74 so far into the backfield that the back has to kind of readjust and redirect around him, which helps Tranquil make the play. So really good defensive play. And you can kind of see the work from the line even more. Really look at these two guys here. Look at Dana. Just the back has nowhere to go with how far Dana got his lineman. And then look at Turk Wharton just handling that double team. Just a really good play defensively. So here's the next defensive play, and this is the kind of play that's going to reinforce a lot of people's beliefs about Leo Chenal and his deficiencies, and it's a little unfair on this play, but not completely unfounded either. Let's watch the play here. You see the Chiefs are once again in their base, right? So we've got, again, 4 defensive backs, and it's the same crew as last time. We got McDuffie here. Shamari Connor is over here. Brian Cook is deep, and Joshua Williams is over here. The Jaguars are playing in 12 personnel, so they've got the 1 running back and 2 tight ends right here. And because the wide receivers are over on both on this side of the formation, then Connor has come down and has manned up this receiver, while Joshua Williams is here on the outside tight end, Evan Ingram. We got Dana lined up a little wide here. Cochran's playing middle linebacker. You've got Tranquil, and then you've got Chenal as your Sam. Tranquil as the Will over here. Now, so the Jaguars are going to run play action here. So they've got the line shifting all to the right. They run play action over here, and Evan Ingram will release into a pass pattern, and it looks like he is Joshua Williams' guy. And the second tight end, who is ostensibly Leo Chenal's guy, starts by blocking Dana on the backside. And so, here Chenal is reading this. Chenal's a downhill guy, right? He's not really a coverage guy. He's reading this play as, he's sucked into the play action motion on the right. This tight end is blocking as if the backside of a run. But then he blocks Dana and then releases. And look where Chenal is when he figures out what's going on. So, a lot of people, Leo Chenal's not great in coverage. Obviously, his change of direction is not great. Like, look at him try to stop here and get back. He's long gone. But he was so far out of position anyway. I don't know that this is the greatest example to use about Chenal's deficiencies in coverage. This was more of just being fooled by a really good play design. And, they have the play action over here. Tight end pops wide open. And, yeah, Chenal doesn't have the closing speed of Fred Warner, but who does? Nick Bolton doesn't either. Now, Nick Bolton changes directions faster than that, but I don't know that you could have. This play is not an agility. Agility is not the problem here. The problem was that they ran a play action. It was a good play. Chenal's out of position. Big gain for Jacksonville. On this next play here, so now we've just given up the big play. Defense is now in a 1st and goal situation just outside the 5-yard line. Looks like about the 7-yard line. The offense comes out here now in 11 personnel after they kind of played those 2 tight ends down the field. The defense was in base. Now we've got 1 running back here, 1 tight end for our 11 personnel. So the Chiefs counter by bringing in the extra defensive back. And so that has been the question. How are they going to navigate an extra defensive back on the field? It looks like in the base, their 4 were Joshua Williams and Trent McDuffie on the outside, Shamari Connor and Brian Cook playing safety. So what did they do? They brought in Jaden Hicks, but they put Jaden Hicks in at deep safety. So remember, Jaden Hicks is a 4th-round draft pick from Washington State this year. So now their 5 defensive backs they've still got Joshua Williams on the outside. Trent McDuffie stayed outside, didn't come into the slot. Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook are deep, and they bring Shamari Connor down into the slot. So that seems like the first thing that we're going to try. So instead of bringing McDuffie in, where he was in first-team All-Pro in the slot, and bringing in another outside corner, they bring Shamari Connor down from the safety position and replacing him with another safety, Jaden Hicks. So that's 2 things, right? It tells you about what they think about the relative person at their position, right? So they think Connor can play the slot if they're putting him in the slot. But it also, we know McDuffie's a better slot corner than Connor is. At least we think so because he was a first-team All-Pro last year and Shamari Connor was a backup safety. But they must think more highly of Hicks coming in as a backup safety than of someone coming in to replace McDuffie on the outside, be it Taylor or Jalen Watson. They think McDuffie plus Hicks plus Connor is a more valuable combination than McDuffie plus Connor plus another boundary corner, be it Watson or Hicks or Williams, whoever is going to end up being that 3rd corner. Okay. So let's see the play that they run. They're 2 linebackers. So in order to get the 5th defensive back, they drop a linebacker. That linebacker is Jack Cochran. So now they've got Tranquil and Chenal in on their nickel package. One would imagine this would be Tranquil and Bolton probably when Bolton is healthy. Clearly it'll be Bolton and someone. And it'll just depend on who that someone is. A lot of times last year it was Bolton and Willie Gay. Willie Gay's gone, so my money's on Bolton and Tranquil, but we'll see. All right, and now for the play. They're got a run here to the left that gets completely blown up, and I think to understand why it's blown up, the two people that you really want to pay attention to are Drew Tranquil right here, and I'm saying a lot today, but Turk Wharton right here. I really feel like he had a fantastic game. So Turk Wharton, you can see him has like completely stoned his defender here. Let me stop it right there. Look at Turk Wharton with the long arm right there. And you will see it better on the long view. But this black hat right there is the defender that's supposed to be blocking Tranquil, former Chief Mitch Morse. Tranquil completely slipped that block and right into the backfield, and Wharton cleans it up. So you'll be able to see it even better from here. We're looking at Turk Wharton, we're looking at Drew Tranquil. So the center is going to come out and try to block him. Turk Wharton is one-on-one with him. So you look at Wharton, boom, moving him back immediately at the snap. Mitch Morse not able to get that block on Tranquil. Tranquil completely slips the block. Hello, running back, right in the backfield. The running back has nowhere else to go because Wharton has pushed the guard right back into his lap. Easy tackle, easy cleanup. Just a great play. So the next play now, after the kind of run stuff that we just saw, this is actually going to be a touchdown pass. And I just want to kind of draw up what happened. So again now, if this here, it's a little tough to tell, but this is Evan Ingram. He's a tight end. So the Jaguars are still in 11 personnel. One running back, one tight end. They've got 3 wide receivers. And so the Chiefs here are still in their nickel. You see Joshua Williams down here. Trent McDuffie still on the outside. Shamari Connor still manning the slot. And our deep safeties are Brian Cook and Jaden Hicks. Linebackers are still Tranquil and Chenal. So the way that this play is drawn up, the coverage is the Chiefs are in 2-man. So what that means is they've got 2 safeties that are going to split the field, play deep zones. Everybody else is in man coverage. So we've got McDuffie, Connor, Chenal is going to take the tight end. And we've got Joshua Williams. And then Drew Tranquil has the unenviable task of guarding Travis Etienne, who's a very shifty running back. The reason why it's important, too, that it's 2-man and not 1-man is that if they run a single high 1-man, what you'll have is you'll have one safety go back and cover deep, and you'll have the other safety come in and kind of do a middle zone, which could aid a route like what Etienne's going to run. But instead, they have 2 safeties going back. So really, nobody has any help to the inside at all. This is what's called a middle field open coverage. Safety goes out, safety goes out. If everybody's just following their man, the middle of the field is wide open. So Travis Etienne runs a very good route to run in this situation. It's called, some people call it a Texas route, or I've heard arrow route too. He comes out and back in. And he is quick and agile. Drew Tranquil is a good coverage linebacker. He's quick, he's agile. Not as quick and agile as Travis Etienne. And without any help in the middle, Tranquil has to respect the outside, like the possible swing pass to the outside. When he respects it, Etienne comes back in. It's a real tough ask for Drew Tranquil. It's a tough spot to be in, and an athlete as good as Etienne is probably going to beat you more times than not. There it is for the touchdown. And you can see the end zone view. And so you can see Tranquil, he's having to, as he sees Etienne get depth, he's having to respect that outside, and he gets too far outside, which understandable. You can see it better here. He gets really respecting the outside route, and when Etienne cuts back in, I mean, there's nothing you can do. See it from over here. Touchdown, Jacksonville. We've got the second team offense in now. So right now there's 11. It looks kind of odd seeing an 11 in Kansas City. It makes you think of Alex Smith immediately, but this is Carson Wentz. And our wide receiver is getting runs with the twos. Xavier Worthy is still in, and McCole Hardman is the other wideout. Again, like, noteworthy that Hardman came in after Sky Moore, but like we said earlier, I think that may be more to do with the specific role that Sky Moore was playing. He was playing Hollywood Brown's role on the first team, and he might be better equipped with his route tree to do that than Hardman is. I don't know that that's an indication that Sky Moore is more likely to make the roster than Hardman or anything like that. They're in 12 personnel here. We've got one running back here. This is Clyde. And there's one tight end here and one tight end on that end. So 2 tight ends, 1-2 gives you 12 personnel. The tight end over here is our 4th round draft pick, or I guess 3rd round pick, right? Jared Wiley. I don't even remember now. I'll have to check. Jared Wiley. And over here is Noah Gray, who would be like the number 1 tight end in this situation. On the line, we can actually get the end zone view to see even better. So who do we have on the line now, a second team line? So Wanye is not playing in this game, but we've got Chu Godric and Lucas Niang as the tackles. This is Hunter Norzad, and this is Hansen from Holy Cross, a 7th round pick. This is a 5th round pick, Norzad. And the center here is Mike Caliendo, who had been playing left guard for Joe Tooney with the ones. So it'll be interesting to see how Hunter Norzad and CJ Hansen do. Both Godric and Niang are kind of fringe guys on the roster. Well, as are these two, So it'll be interesting to see what, with all the shuffling, who ends up making it on the offensive line. It seems like the people that are like safe on the line to this point are Kingsley, Wanye, Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Juwan Taylor, Mike Caliendo. That's 7 guys who you feel pretty good are going to be on the roster. And so then the question is whether they keep 9 or 10. You're looking at 2 or 3 more guys staying. So these 4 that we talked about, Godric, Norzad, Hansen, Niang, are fighting for those, 2 or 3 spots that are remaining. Okay, so back to this play. This play, it looks like the reason why this play is noteworthy is something looks weird. It looks like the defense here is playing cover 2, right? You've got this safety's backpedaling, this safety's backpedaling, and it doesn't actually look like we're manned up, right? These guys are actually playing zones. They're running with the guys on the left, but this seems to be zone coverage with a corner trailing over there, and they've got a linebacker kind of trailing Worthy in the slot with the safety kind of coming over to help. So, in zone coverage, really the name of the game is often to find an open area, right? You don't want to be running through zones too much because there's a chance of running past one defender into the lane of another. So a lot of times with zone coverage, it's about finding space and finding an opening. So if you watch what Noah Gray does, he comes up, he kind of settles, and he finds an opening in that zone, and Wentz hits him for it. Right there. And so these routes are actually pretty important from Worthy and Hardman. They're kind of just clearing out, making sure that these guys can't drive down on anything intermediate, right? So Worthy is look at the number of defenders he's bringing out here to kind of create that opening for Noah Gray to sit. But look at what Wiley does. Like, what it looks like should happen to me is that Gray comes in, he hooks, Wiley comes in, finds a soft spot in the zone, and that's your play. But look what Wiley does. He comes up and over and almost runs right into Gray's zone. Like, whenever 2 receivers are in the same place, something's going wrong. And it looks like Wiley's made a mistake here, and he's almost like bringing defenders into Noah Gray. Fortunately, the pass gets there, Gray's open, they complete the pass. But I would bet this is an error by Jared Wiley, and he was supposed to kind of hang out. You can see it now from the back. You see Gray nicely comes up, and you can see how he finds an opening right there. Here's a linebacker. Gray's sitting. What's happening here? Wiley's coming across the formation and entering into Gray's zone. That doesn't seem right. But play works out. Gray and Wentz are on the same page. First down. For our last play of the game, just wanted to do one with the punt team. Again, because this play looked a little weird. It looked a little odd. So I just wanted to go over it. I think the big thing to note here is if we let this run, you'll see, especially starting with the gunner below, which is Nick Jones, you see how much of an effort he's making to get toward the middle of the field. The punt team seems to be flowing over to the left, following that Nick Jones lead, and everybody's kind of coming over to the left side. But then look where Ariza drops the punt. The punt ends up way over on this hash. Everybody, look at where everybody is, even after correcting for where the punt is. He really kind of left them completely out-leveraged. The only explanation I'm going to have here is that this punt was probably intended to go somewhere over here, and he just missed it. Because, again, they get a decent return. I think that the team does a good job of kind of corralling the returner, but you can see it a little better on this view here. Look at how purposefully the coverage team seems to be headed over. Hicks made his way out there to the left. Nick Jones is already here inside the hash. So the team has really made a strong effort to kind of put in something like this, assuming the ball may be somewhere over there. But look where the ball actually ends up, way over here. And you can see, this is the rightmost defender at this point. They're completely out-leveraged, and the coverage team actually does a good job of kind of getting back and getting him squeezed over to the sideline. Again, not an expert here, but it looks to me like that was just a punt that was expected to come over on the left. It was designed to go that way, and they ended the punt itself. He ended up missing it. And Matt Ariza was known for being a great punter in college, mainly because of his long punts. Hopefully his directional punting will be good in Kansas City as well. Well, I appreciate you watching the video today. There were a lot of other fun plays from the game. Personally, I enjoyed seeing a lot more Turk Wharton. I think there were at least a couple more places where he held his ground or he won quickly. I was really braced to see his performance. He was the most notable person to me as far as how pleasantly surprised I was by how well he played. There was also the nice catch by Justin Ross down the sideline, the run by Carson Steele, and a couple great plays by Jaden Hicks, who looks like he will be very interesting. I will try to break down the next preseason game that'll happen this Saturday once we get film on that. Look forward to that, and then we will be back with our podcasts weekly shortly. Looking forward to the season. Hopefully we'll get a prediction podcast in, and then we'll get started with the season with our game previews and recaps. Again, thanks a lot for watching and listening. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at STCF715. We'll try to post some clips there more frequently and definitely be tweeting during the games, so follow us there. Otherwise, until next time.